Evan New. We're doing Tech Teardown for Wednesday, December 18th. Let's get right to headlines. Following strong share price gains of over 80% this year, Hewlett-Packard has announced that it's boosting CEO Meg Whitmans' pay. Her base salary is going from $1 to $1.5 million. That's a big jump.
It's a pretty nice
Seems like a lot.
Nice raise. But so if you remember back in 2011 when Meg Whitman became HP CEO, she started at $1. It was kind of one of those symbolic moves, is that it's trying to support the turnaround. Of course, her compensation since then has been primarily around equity-based, restricted stock and options. So so if you look at 2011, her compensation package was valued at about $16.5 million. 2012, that was $15.4 million. So with most of that being equity related, and with the gains that we've seen this year,
she's not hurting.
I think she's doing all right. But more importantly, she is helping HP with their turnaround, and there is some progress on that front.
Do you really think there's progress, though? Because HP is still laying off people left and right,
It is kind of interesting how many people they could pay for that $1.5 million. But she is making progress. They've really solidified or strengthened the balance sheet a lot. They've paid off a lot of long-term debt, streamlined the product portfolio, kind of slimmed down. They're diversifying platforms, really exploring other operating systems. So I think that she is doing her job. Still too early to see if this is going to work, but I think they have a clear strategy now, and that's kind of where where it matters.
After enjoying a phenomenal year so far, Micron Technology is down significantly today following a Bloomberg report that rival SK Hynix is planning a new factory. Why are Micron investors worried? So a lot of
Micron's gains since September have really been all tied to this SK Hynix fire that happened in early September, which really boosted DRAM prices at a time when DRAM prices are seasonally low. So I think Micron's been really benefiting from that. So I think this news about them bringing another factory online is kind of has the possibility to put a downward impact on prices. And we've talked before about the possibility of supply increasing as Hynix ramps back up as possible headwind to Micron going forward.
Do you think these losses are warranted, though, or do you think maybe there's some profit taking happening?
I think there's probably a little bit of both. I do think that shares might have gotten a little bit ahead of themselves, because since that date when the fire was announced, shares are up something like 70%, and that's a huge jump on this one event that is inherently temporary. So I think a little bit of a pullback is warranted.
What do you think about Micron going forward? Do you like the stock?
Well, I think that right now, since the industry is consolidating there's really three big players right now. It's Samsung, Micron, and SK Hynix. So between the three of them, the real strategy going forward is for them to kind of control supply growth so they can kind of keep prices where they need to be. But at the same time, I do think Micron has some opportunities in its NAND business as it shifts to, as a focus on SSD adoption. Historically, they've always really focused on the consumer side and not as much on the data center. Right now, it's been about 80-20 mix. But I think as they can shift more towards the NAND business, which has higher operating margins, I think they do have some opportunities there.
Let's turn to our next segment, all about Apple. Shares of Apple are weak today for two primary reasons. For one, supplier Jabil Circuit reported soft earnings, and there's still no sign of the China Mobile deal. What's going on at Jabil? So
starting with Jabil, they're down on weaker than expected outlook. Current quarter revenue is expected in the range of $3.5 to $3.7 billion, but the street was expecting $4.3 billion. A little soft there. They're still seeing some BlackBerry fallout, but Apple's also a pretty big customer. They're at 19% of revenue last fiscal year, so the fear here is that Apple's slowing, and management did specifically say that at one of their large customers, they didn't specify, they're seeing a shift in demand, and that kind of hurt their business. And of course, we've seen plenty of times when Apple gets hit on rumors about demand dropping or iPhone, anything related to demand. But I think the important thing here is actually, Jabil is making the iPhone 5C for Apple primarily. So what we could actually be seeing is just a shift, as far as Apple's concerned.
In product mix.
Right, from the 5C to the 5S, which is actually a good thing for Apple. But again, this is just one of those supply chain rumors where it's like we're seeing maybe one slice of the whole picture.
So I don't even want to talk about it. I'm tired of talking about it. What's up with China Mobile? It was supposed to happen today. Where is it? Where's the big announcement? Where's the fanfare? Come on.
Today is kind of the date that everyone's been expecting. And China Mobile did roll out their 4G TD LTE network in various markets, which is what everyone was hankering on. But there's still no iPhone announcement, and I think investors are still disappointed in that because obviously we've been talking about this endlessly because this month is when it's been expected. But I think that China Mobile did say that we're still negotiating. They still expect to offer it soon, and a couple other data points on their business. They expect to sell about 220 million smartphones next year, 100 million of which are 4G. So this is definitely something Apple wants to get in on it. They're going to be subsidizing more. They subsidized $4.5 billion last year, expecting to do more. But I think that it's not today. Even if it's not today, I still think this deal is happening.
Okay, it might be happening, but are you at all concerned that good God, it's been delayed again. You know, like part of the reason this date was so important was the 4G network is rolling out. Wouldn't that be perfect if it coincided with, oh, hey, the 5S?
It would have been nice, but I mean, I think that, I mean, if it's a small timing issue, I'm less concerned. If it's just now, between like a week from now, I mean, we've been saying that for a while. But at the same time, China Mobile is actually really already ramping up advertising. There have been, you know, some people have spotted advertisements in stores where they already have iPhones on display, and they're actually playing like the September iPhone event on TVs in the background just to get people excited about it. Like, they're clearly interested in doing this. So, and I still remain confident this is happening very, very soon, even if it's not today or tomorrow.
All right. One of the under-the-radar storylines for Apple this year has been support in iOS 7 for hardware controllers. The move has some potential to shake up the gaming industry even further. But apparently it might be getting off to a rocky start. So
the hardware controller support was kind of detailed at WWDC over the summer. And you know, it's kind of one of those things where Apple's only building the operating system support, still leaving it to other people to kind of, you know, as far as third parties to make the controllers, developers have to make them. But I think what we're seeing right now is the early reviews of all that is really not very good. So the two companies that are stepping forward to make these third-party controllers are Logitech and Moga. Logitech already has a pretty successful accessory business catering in part to the Apple crowd, but both of these things cost $100, which is pretty pricey, and they're reportedly very low quality. Like they just don't work very well. And on top of that, again, there's not really a lot of games, so I don't think this is really taking off in the same way that we might hope. Apple's usually pretty good about spurring its development and innovation within its platforms, but I think it's having a little bit more trouble this time.
So there's been a couple non-traditional competitors entering the console space or the gaming space now. You've got NVIDIA's Shield, and Samsung launched a controller for its Galaxy line. Do you worry why is Apple doing this? Do you think Apple has to do this? What if Apple doesn't succeed?
So Apple's whole thing in the gaming was always kind of by accident. I think that they have really kind of shaken up at least the handset market or the handheld gaming market. I think with the next-gen consoles, the PS4 and Xbox One just launching, I think the console demand will still probably be relatively insulated from the threat here. Because these next-generation consoles will last for many years. But I think the real threat is to things like the Vita and the DS and kind of the little handheld ones. And Android does have some kind of a first mover advantage because Android has always supported hardware controllers for a lot longer. So Apple kind of is coming from behind. But at the same time, this has just been one of those side projects for Apple where they just want another reason for you to buy iPhones. But
so you think it's not that important for Apple investors? Whatever happens with this controller, who cares? I
mean, it's like a cherry on top. It's nice if they can do it because it kind of strengthens another niche market that they can kind of grab hold of. But even without it, there's still plenty of reasons to buy an iPhone.
All right. That's all for today on Tech Teardown. The Motley Fool is partnering with Pencils of Promise to help build 2 schools in Guatemala. Learn more about how you can help a great cause this holiday season at fool.com/give. For Evan New, I'm Erin Kennedy, and we'll see you next time.